Photoshop and you have a computer, you can edit your image there in Photoshop. So I am going to take my file, open it in Photoshop. I can just drag it and drop it onto Photoshop. Or I can open it if I go to File, Open in Photoshop. I can open my file that way. So I want to, because this is going to be viewed on a screen, I'm going to make sure that brightness of my screen is all the way up. And then the first thing I'm going to do is crop my image. I like to use guides to help me do this. So I'd want to make sure to go to Window, View, and make sure that Rulers is turned on. And then if I click on the ruler, I can drag over a guide and it helps me see if my image is straight. It helps me think about where I might want to crop stuff. I just find them really helpful. And you can see my image isn't quite straight. My camera of my phone must have been a little bit off. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Edit, unlock this layer here. If I have my layers window open, I can see a little lock here. I'm going to unlock my layer, and then I can go to Edit, Transform, Skew, and I can correct the angle of my photo. It's snapping to my guides, and I don't want it to do that right now, so I'm going to go in and change that. That looks pretty good. It's not distorting the image a bunch, which is good. I want to make sure that I'm checking that. And then I'm going to click here to kind of put that transformation into place. Drag this down, drag this over, and now I'm ready to crop. So I'm going to grab my marquee tool, come over here, select what I want to crop. I can use my guidelines to help me with that. I could turn snap back on, and then I would snap right to those guidelines, which would be helpful. And then I'm going to go to Image Crop. At this point, I like to clear my guidelines off so that I can see the edges of my image. So I'm going to go in and clear guides. And I think that looks pretty good. There's nothing in the background left. I can't see like the piece of cardboard that I was sitting on. I can't see anything else that might be sitting on a table near it. All I see is just my drawing, which is what I'm going for. Next, I'm going to go in and do some adjustments. I can do this here in the adjustment panel. Each time I do this, it'll create a new layer, which is nice because I can go back and keep editing it and make shifts. I'm going to just go into Image, Adjustments. The first thing I'm going to do is just bring up the overall brightness because it looked a little dark. I want to make sure not to do too much. Any edits that I make are deleting information in my image file, and it might look like this is the brightness that I want, but then there ends up being no pixels in the white areas, which there's information there. Even though it's a white piece of paper, it's not perfectly white since it is a physical object. So I'm just going to bump that up a little bit, press OK. And then I'm also going to adjust the levels a little bit. This just gives me a little more control in my editing. I can slide this white arrow to bump up my whites, and because I don't have a lot of blacks, I can just drag this gray arrow, and that'll darken some of my gray in the image. My goal is to make the photograph of my artwork look as much like the actual artwork as I possibly can. I don't want to make it look way different. I wouldn't want to change the colors, anything like that. I am going to adjust the temperature of the image just a little bit. There's different ways that you can do this. I'm going to use Photo Filter. I was photographing it outside, so it has like a tiny bit of a blue tinge, and I'm going to just make it slightly warmer. So my color, I'm using the warming filter, and the density is 5, so it's just the tiniest bit. And then I'm going to zoom in and look at my image a little bit to double check it, make sure I'm happy with it. I'm gonna press Command plus. There's all kinds of shortcuts on the keyboards that you can use. You can also go to View, zoom in. Looks pretty good to me. Doesn't need to be perfect for our purposes, but I've cropped everything out. I've played with the levels a little bit, and now I'm ready to save it. I like to save my files as, so that I always have my original image in case I need to go back. And then for the purposes of posting online, I'm going to save it as a JPEG. EV Project 1 on the somewhere I can find it. I'm saving it on the desktop. It doesn't need to be a huge file. I'm going to bump it down a little bit. I don't want to make it too small. Quality 10 is great. And that is it. Oh my god.